What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Love Wrestling Interviews featuring me, Pluggo, and my guest to my right, left. I haven't quite figured out the science of how StreamYard works when I'm looking at it versus what's actually on the screen, but he's next to me, Matt Makowski. He's joining me ahead of Sunday, November 24th, GCW Bloodsport. Matt, first and foremost, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Pluggo. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, no, thank you for coming on in and hanging out. I appreciate you taking some time. I know it's a busy week ahead with Bloodsport happening, but I asked you about it on the pre-show. I'm going to bring it up now. We'll do this chronologically, I guess, would be the proper journalistic way.
Sure.
Wanted to tell you before we got started, start off something light. When you won the Midwest Championship at Black Label Pro Slamilton against Calvin Tankman, I was sitting next to your mom.
Yeah.
How cool is that to win a championship with your mom and mom?
Very cool. Actually, really fun. My parents have been so supportive of everything that I've done. My dad's been to maybe a Bloodsport or two, even he lives in Florida, so
nice.
Yeah, like I've been blessed with some great parents, but yeah, that event was in was it Berwyn,
Illinois. Yep.
Yeah,
Suburb of Chicago, we'll just say. Yeah.
My mother lives not too far from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I was sitting there watching the show and she says, my son's coming up next. And I was like, who's your son? She said, Matt Makowski. I said, oh, shoot. That's fantastic. That's pretty damn cool. I will say this. Your mom is bold for booing Calvin Tankman.
Yeah.
Listen, I was rooting for you. I don't know if you heard me. I was the guy that shouted out, yeah, Tankman, he deserved it because you put on a hell of a match. But she was booing him, and I was like, Tankman? Oof. But that's a really cool thing. I was gonna ask on top of that, when you told your parents, like, hey, I want to be a professional wrestler, this is my dream, and you said they were supportive from the jump, were they like, all right, let's get it going? Or
well, you know, I'm no spring chicken. I've kind of had a whole combat sports career, and they were supportive of that as well.
Yeah.
And then getting into professional wrestling around 2016. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of saying this to you before we started, but yeah, I've been blessed to have some phenomenal supportive parents who are support me in my crazy endeavors and everything, even if it's mostly me getting wailed on or getting beat up, all that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean, even from this aspect, when I'm like, yeah, Mom, I interviewed wrestlers, and she's like, what? Like, you mean like, she's like, you mean like Macho Man and stuff? And I'm like, I mean, kind of, yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. So that's cool. That's very cool. And before we get into the meat and the potatoes of why I asked you here today for the interview, I mentioned the Black Label Pro Slamilton. That was almost a year ago.
Yeah.
So from that point to here, what has been your most you're from? I can't even speak. I'm stumbling. I'm just going crazy. Let me slow it down. What was your favorite moment of 2024? What were you like, man, that was damn cool that I got to do that?
Oh, 2024. I mean, the first thing that pops into my head was going to WXW in Germany.
Oh, nice.
The 16 karat weekend they have, it's kind of like their WrestleMania type of event. I mean, if you're an independent wrestling fan, I feel like this is a bucket list event. It is the fans are rabid. It's incredible. The energy is off. It's I don't know if I've experienced much like it in my life. It's phenomenal. I got to wrestle in their Ambition tournament, which is like a shoot style tournament, so kind of in line with a Bloodsport type of event. And nice. Yeah, that was amazing. It was actually my first time in Europe, overseas, and everything too. So that was amazing. I have had 2 matches with Tom Lawler that sticks out in my brain. He's a kind of a somebody I look up to, and I've had the pleasure to wrestle him 3 times now. But
nice.
2 of them were this year. Yeah, I mean, I came back from injury not too far from that match that you saw with Tankman. That was my first couple months back, and so yeah, since then, just bunch of great matches at Beyond Wrestling, JCW. I got to wrestle Alex Coughlin, Clark Connors of the War Dogs, from New Japan. Yeah, those are the things that kind of stick out to me the most.
Oh hell yeah! No, you've had a hell of a 2024, and I know I bet it just dawned on you because you're like, oh yeah, and I also got to wrestle Charlie Dempsey.
I was just gonna say, I
WrestleMania weekend.
I forgot that. I wrestled. I was like one of the first. I don't know. I might be one of the first people to wrestle a contracted WWE wrestler on the Indies. I don't actually know if that's it's just a small fun fact, but
we could look it up. I'll get some statisticians on it. We'll figure it out. But that's what I was going to say. So WrestleMania weekend, before we dive into the actual matches and everything, what drew you to the idea of Bloodsport? I know your style is perfect for it. And you alluded to Dempsey. The match was talked about as one of the matches of that night. What drew you to the idea of like, yeah, I'm going to get into this? Because maybe the people that are stumbling across this interview that haven't seen Bloodsport, because it's starting to pick up steam in terms of notoriety and visibility. There's no ropes. It's a shoot style. There's different vibe. What drew you to it?
I mean, this is a great question. I mean, and I have sort of a long answer, but I was, after my MMA career, I stopped fighting in like 2010, and then was just kind of working and doing personal training, and I still coach jiu-jitsu and Thai boxing, but somewhere in like the mid 2010s, I was like looking for a new frontier, something else to kind of sink my teeth into, if you will, and I had seen people like Tom Lawler and Shayna Baszler. There are other examples, but a lot of stuff I've seen in like the style of wrestling I had seen in New Japan, like Kushida, or I was like really into Malachi Black when he came out, and formerly Tommy End. And I was like, I've been a wrestling fan since I was a child, and I'm like, it's always something I kind of kicked around. Like I remember going to schools websites in the 2000s just to kind of like get a feel for what was going on. I was a big fan of indie wrestling in the Philadelphia area, but I never really pulled the trigger. And then there was the Wrestle Factory where I started my training in Philadelphia offered these free courses. It was like, basically just a way to get new students in and get them acclimated. And so I had nothing to lose. I kind of did that, and it was kind of like just all downhill from there. I loved it. I thought it was very similar to training I had done in the past with my MMA career, and I was just like, I'm gonna give this a shot. And this is right around the time when I started. So this is kind of where it kind of comes full circle with this coming Sunday. Is I was in the crowd in 2019. I believe it was 2019 for the first Josh Barnett's Bloodsport.
Oh, wow.
So at the same venue that it's going to be at this Sunday. So it was in Jersey City.
Wow, I didn't know that. That is very cool.
Yeah. And man, I was just like blown away. This was WrestleMania weekend, I believe. Mm-hmm. Main event was Barnett and Suzuki. There were a bunch of other great matches.
That's a hell of a way to start.
Yeah. And I mean, I was there because I was doing ring crew with Chikara, who was the independent promotion, had a show during that weekend. It was the Collective. So yeah. And I was still on the ring crew for that. I'm about to make my debut in a few months, but I was just like, I gotta do this. Like this is I need to be here. I need to do this. So I mean, and Chikara at the time, the company I was wrestling for, was actually doing like a shoot style angle, where it's kind of a long story, but like I basically had a lot of we were doing shoot matches at Chikara with like no ropes, knockout submission only. So I've been doing a lot of this. I did it at Paradigm in Indiana in the Midwest. Like you said, that kind of match format and this type of show has kind of caught on a little bit. Obviously, everybody's maybe tried their hand in it to a degree, but I always feel like the blood sports are just on a different level. And again, that show back in Jersey City in 2019, the energy in that room was just insane. So I am very much looking forward to this coming Sunday. And we'll see what we got.
Before we keep going on that, you did mention like your MMA background, jiu-jitsu, all that kind of stuff. How did that translate maybe to wrestling? Because you hear a lot of people say, well, I was doing this other combat sport, then I gave this a try, but it's definitely a different style. Was it easy for you to flip the switch to a wrestling style, or did it take a little bit more work?
I mean, in my opinion, I feel like some type of grappling, like amateur wrestling or MMA, is just the best foundation for professional wrestling. At least that's my opinion. I've had people ask me this question all the time, and people are often generous in saying that I've done a great job of sort of.
Oh, I was gonna do that, but I was gonna let you pat yourself on the back.
I appreciate it, but. And, I pride myself in that because I, even when my regular matches aren't too much different than my Bloodsport matches. If I'm going to be honest, it's just, I play along with I play into the rule set, obviously. And maybe there's obviously a slightly different vibe, maybe a little bit different intensity, but, I don't adjust. My moveset at Bloodsport isn't too much than my moveset when we're having a regular match. So I've kind of went all in on being like the shoot style guy. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There are some people that just straight hate me. And that's probably like
who let's dish on the pod. Okay.
Fans that are in the Northeast. If Matt Makowski's on the card, no matter what the story is, no matter who I'm wrestling, I'm getting booed out there. So I don't know. It might have something to do with the way I wrestle, but yeah. I mean, I think because of my fandom, just in the 90s, growing up watching Bret Hart and all those guys, and then the creativity that I was exposed to through Chikara and a lot of the independent stuff I got into in the 2000s. I love it. I think pro wrestling is one of the greatest, most underrated art forms in the world. And it's just a lot of the things that I enjoy, combat sports, performance, all kind of rolled into one thing. So, I mean, it's what I like to do.
No arguments here. I love me some pro wrestling. I wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't. So we teased it, and that's what I do here. Everybody that watches my interviews knows I'm going to tease you a little bit. We'll get to the meat and potatoes here, but we mentioned Charlie Dempsey. You think you're the first one to wrestle a WWE contracted wrestler on the indies. Now, around that blood sport, there was a lot of buzz because Shayna Baszler had been announced. She was announced for months ahead of it.
Oh, and Baszler had done a couple of them. Right?
Yeah, she had trained through Josh Barnett and kind of was like, and then I don't know if she did anymore. I think that was her debut as an official GCW Bloodsport. If I did the math correct, because I did get flamed on the internet for saying she was at 1-0 in her debut at Bloodsport, and everybody told me she trained under Barnett. She knows what she's doing. Whatever, guys. That was the first time I had seen her.
WrestleMania weekend, the one that Charlie was on, was that the first one?
Yes, yeah. So I was that's the first official one that she did according to my account. So when we're watching Bloodsport, you're announced for it, but you didn't have a match similar to this Sunday. We'll get into that in a little bit here. But then Charlie Dempsey shows up.
Yeah.
When you get to the building and you're like, all right, what am I doing? And you're talking to, I'm assuming Josh or Brett or whoever it may be that's in charge. And you're like, what am I doing? And they're like, oh yeah, Charlie Dempsey's going to be here. You're the guy. What's going through your mind there?
I mean, I was excited. It definitely was something that was thrown together maybe the day before or something. I don't know the exact story, but there were some injuries or something had to be switched because I think I was originally slated to wrestle Akira.
Okay.
And Akira got switched to wrestling Victor Benjamin. And there might have been, I think Anthony Henry from AEW was maybe supposed to be on that card, but he didn't. I don't think he ever got announced because he had an injury.
Yeah, because he was with AEW at the time, and
yeah,
something like that.
So just a shuffling of the cards, and that's just kind of where the deck landed. So, yeah, it was an amazing experience. Basically in my hometown. It was a great show. It was a great match with Charlie. I'm glad it happened.
And so to kind of piggyback off that, you said it was kind of thrown together. Now, preparing for a Bloodsport match, especially given that you're not sure who your opponent's going to be the day before, is there more that goes into that type of preparation opposed to just a regular standard wrestling match? Or you just go, I'm very confident in my abilities. I'm just going to go out, do my thing, and hopefully Charlie's ready for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's more of the latter, what you said. A little bit more just kind of be ready for anything. And a lot of it's conditioning because the pace of those matches is typically higher than it is for, we'll say a normal rules match. I think if you actually did timed all the matches, on average, the Bloodsport matches are shorter than maybe a normal match. And that's typically because the pace is so much higher and people are trying to take each other's limbs and heads off and stuff. So, so you got to have the conditioning to kind of go at that pace. So a lot of it's just the preparation anyway, is just a lot of just training, make sure your cardio's on point. And then, and then when it comes to whatever technical style you like to kind of use, just making sure you're sharp there.
Hell yeah. So you mentioned it earlier, wrestling fan from the jump, from an early age. What's that one thing that all wrestling fans, we all talk about? We always dream match this, and I wish this person could come over to this promotion and work this match. And Bloodsport has become that. They have become you've got WWE talent on this Sunday's card. You got AEW contracted, TNA, Independence.
Yep.
How has that been, maybe because we saw it at WrestleMania weekend? How is that vibe backstage? Because again, us internet fans, some of them get tribalistic and be like, oh, but it looks like Bloodsport has figured out a way to bring them all together and put on one hell of a show. So what's that vibe been like for you? And maybe who do you want to see in the future make their way to a Bloodsport?
I mean, in terms of the vibes, it's, I think obviously the tribalism stuff is obviously more between the fans, right? Like I'm sure you've heard stories about how most workers or wrestlers they're all just friends regardless. So there's no I don't get the sense that there's any kind of rivalries between in terms of if two people from different promotions are wrestling each other. There's nothing like that. Everyone's cordial and I've never had any issues or seen any issues backstage that were like, well, we need to get out of here.
Right.
I'd
hope not.
We're also dealing with a whole bunch of not to the Bloodsport roster is typically a bunch of people that you don't want to just we got legitimate black belts and kings of Pancrase and pride fighting champion, UFC heavyweight champions. These are some of the most badass people.
I'd just be like, yep, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, whatever you need, Shayna, whatever you need. You need water, I'll open it for you.
So yeah, everybody there
awesome.
is usually pretty humble and polite and everything. And yeah, even with the influx of WWE talent and everything, obviously that's been new since this year, I guess. And
because I think Shayna was the first.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna hold. I'm gonna stamp my flag in that she was the first.
She was the first announced. Yeah, I think
announced, and then you got Dempsey before her. Yeah,
so wrestled first, so technically I was the first
And that was not, I'm not joking when I said that was one of the matches of the night, highly touted, highly rated by metrics. Like, you got to have that first match and absolutely killed it. And like I said, who would have thought Bloodsport would be the wrestling show that brought all the companies together, man? It's crazy.
It is wild. I think it's really cool for fans. I mean, it's cool for, I mean, honestly, the Matt Makowski, the wrestling fan, thinks it's cool that you have, I think that the last event in Brooklyn a couple months ago had wrestlers from, I think, every major promotion, like, representatives from New Japan, TNA, AEW, and WWE, and then like maybe even MLW and the independents. It was like, almost everything you could, every wrestling company.
Every corner of the world. And it's crazy to me. It's awesome to see. I absolutely love that. I think that is very cool because I am not a tribalistic guy. I like everything. I think more wrestling is good for everybody. And I think promotions like GCW doing this Bloodsport thing can show that, we can all work together for a common goal, put on a really cool show. And I asked you who you'd want to see in Bloodsport. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to let you think on it because I'm going to say you've wrestled Charlie Dempsey. You wrestled Brutus Creed.
Julius Creed,
I'm sorry, Julius. That's right. I get those two confused, even though they're two different people. Don't judge me, Internet. I'm sorry. But you wrestled him. You do not have a match announced for this Sunday as of yet, but you are on the card. Right. Does that mean does that mean Chad Gable maybe?
I know, right? Show up? I don't know. I mean, here's my thing. Like, MVP, right?
MVP's going to be there.
And who's MVP roll with?
Shelton and Bobby? Are you calling out Bobby Lashley?
Absolutely not. But
you hear that? My son's favorite. You hear that, Owen? He's calling out your guy. My son's favorite wrestler's Bobby Lashley.
I'm just mentally preparing for that graphic to pop up and just and then just game planning furiously to figure out how I'm going to do anything to Bobby Lashley.
If you're looking up counters, you're like, Siri, help me counter Hurt Lock.
I mean, but I mean, Shelton Benjamin too. I mean, he's not
he's the gold standard for a reason, my friend.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know. I have just a little inkling that maybe that's it, but, other than that, I mean, there's nobody really from Japan on the card yet that I recall.
Not yet.
At least, so I mean, it could be somebody, like a foreign wrestler or something like that. So who knows? I mean, they love surprises sometimes, and we shall see.
Bobby Lashley versus Matt Makowski. No. I need a reckless speculation.
It's too I had my taste in heavyweight super heavyweights with Julius Creed. I'm good. And
what was Julius like in person? He seems like a vibe.
He's a very nice person.
He seems like he has a lot of fun back there. He loves what he does.
He's extremely nice to me. He threw me around a lot in the ring, but other than that, backstage he was nothing but classy. So.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm not going to let you off easy. Matt Makowski, the wrestling fan. No, not who's already there. Who would you want at Bloodsport if you could have anybody as a fan?
So just like
you versus your dream match, you're booking it. You get to pick anybody.
I'm privy to more striking oriented wrestlers. I mean, I would love to see Malachi Black.
Okay.
Like that guy, I respect him so much because most of his moveset is strikes.
Yeah.
And I think that's so impressive to pull off at the level that he wrestles at. And he obviously differentiates himself so much because of that. And I try to emulate that every now and then as well. So he's a big one. I mean, Kyle O'Reilly, another guy with like an MMA background, more of a stylist when it comes to his wrestling. I mean, honestly, that's more of a fan and the wrestler. That's a guy
nice.
that I'd like to maybe see at Bloodsport. I've always been
he's a guy I'd like to see at Bloodsport. I'm surprised they haven't made that happen.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? He had a lot of health issues for a while, right? So, I mean, I've never met the gentleman, but so I can't speculate as to what his.
I'm just gonna run all of these names and be like, Matt said Kyle's gonna be there.
I would love if Kyle was there. You could clip that and do whatever you want with it. Let's think. Who else? I mean, Kushida. I'm a big fan of Kushida. Kind of more of a grappling submission oriented wrestler that can strike as well. Yeah, those are some of the guys that come to the kind of the top of my head. I mean, the fan. I mean, I guess like Kurt Angle or like a Brock Lesnar, but that I don't know if that's those are kind of.
You just told me you did the heavyweight thing and you're good, and now you're throwing Brock Lesnar out there.
Well, as a fan.
Hey, I'm just looking out for you, man.
Versus Barnett or something.
Oh, you're booking a fan match. Okay, Lesnar versus Barnett, not Matt versus Lesnar. I got you.
Yeah.
Well, Spencer, if you're watching this, the guy, the namesake of Love Wrestling, Kushida is in Edmonton Friday for Love Pro Wrestling.
Nice.
Have him swing down to Bloodsport in Jersey and wrestle Matt Makowski. Before I get you out, one last question for the fans that have not been to a Bloodsport or maybe have not seen a Bloodsport and stumble across this Sunday. What can they expect? What does the Matt Makowski stamp of approval, or what to look for, or how is it going to go down?
I just think these shows bring a different energy than any other pro wrestling show. There's just I know it's a kind of a overused term, but there's just like an electricity in the air. Everything, everything means a little bit more for some reason, like any type of impact or move, because if you kind of let the show kind of overtake you, it's like, imagine seeing like a power bomb in an MMA fight. Like that would be insane, right? Like imagine if John Jones had power bombed Stipe or something over the weekend. There was a big UFC fight, but that would be nuts. But that kind of thing happens sometimes at Bloodsport, right? And it's a lot of times it's out of nowhere. You don't expect it. So kind
of like when Brutus did the flip thing off of that post, and I was like, "What are you doing, Brutus?" That wasn't your match,
Tom.
To Tom. Yeah. Lawler caught him.
All that.
I just love the presentation. Like I said at the beginning, all the fighters come out to show respect. They stand on the ring together.
It's like a throwback to Pride. Fighting championships.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's such a cool vibe. You're going to be there. We don't know who you're wrestling as of yet, but we're speculating wildly that it's Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Kurt Angle. We're just going to throw every name out there and hope that we get one right. Matt, I appreciate all your time. I know you're a busy guy. So go ahead and plug where people can find you and anything else you may have coming up before we get out of here.
I'm on Instagram at Matthew Makowski, and currently I'm still on X at the Matt Makowski. And I look forward to Bloodsport this Sunday.
I think we all do. Bloodsport this Sunday, 7 p.m. in New Jersey on Thriller TV. Matt will be there. It's a stacked card. Check it out. I'm Pluggo. You know where you can find me. I'm all over this wonderful channel here at Love Wrestling CA. Go follow everything that we do, everything that we got coming up. Until next time, friends, we'll see you later. Peace out.